since you seem to be very happy about the current weather heat, it's middle of January in 2017, and it's very warm. 70 last week. I think it's 70 expected for this week. It's extremely warm, and you're happy about it. And that happiness is extremely unwarranted. As the saying goes, for every action there is an equal opposite reaction. Or more simply, if we have warm weather now, we will have much hotter weather in the summertime. We are actually on our way to biblical hell, because there are consequences to a planet that cannot cool itself. And without ice, the planet cannot cool itself from the sun. That's as simple as it gets. Without ice, which is melting entirely away, and you don't care, there is no future, because it will be 120 or 130 degrees or whatever it is in the summertime. As the ice disappears, it will just get hotter. The equator will become unlivable. Plants and animals will die. You won't even be able to wear clothes because it will be too hot. And your skin, oddly enough, will become red because the blood will flow to the surface. And it will, as it needs to have, to release the heat from your body. And you get to play devil, I guess. You know, red. Yeah, what the hell. Anyway, we are so on our way to all the biblical prophecies that are for destruction, but I just thought I'd list them for you. This is just one. Global warming is important. I'm not a pessimist. I retain a little hope. Pessimists don't have any hope. And so they just, descend into their own little abyss. I'm a realist. In other words, truth matters. For every action there is an equal opposite reaction. There are consequences. I'm not an optimist. I don't just believe that everything will be all right, no matter what, just because I want it to be. That's the only reason it's going to be right. I want it to be, so it's going to be good. Well, it ain't. Reality says there are truth and consequences. The truth is the planet is warming badly. The truth is the only way to stop it from warming badly is to stop air conditioning, stop major housing from growing, stop all the everything that you do. Stop all the vehicles, stop all the planes, stop having heated everything, stop air conditioning in huge houses that you don't even use. Stop what you're doing because it releases heat. Every time you burn fossil fuels, it releases heat. It's not so much greenhouse gases, it's all the heat that you release. You should understand that. I have no idea how many trillions of gallons of fossil fuel heat you release, or trillions and trillions and trillions of BTUs. Doesn't much matter anymore. And that's because you have very little choice, and everyone says, not me, I'm not going to do it. Not me, I'm not going to do it. I want what I want, and that's all that I want, and I don't want anything else, and that's all that I want. I want what I want. That is your statement on everything as a humanity. That is you. I want. Nothing more, nothing less. I want what I want, and that's nothing what I want. I don't want to pay anything. I want what I want. That's your answer to everything. And it has been that answer for, 40 years or 50. Very few care. Well, you will care. The planet dies. You will care. Well, and then again, there's always Armageddon, which means nature is in chaos. And of course, your universities are, and their geneticists in particular, are just carried away with themselves trying to create evolution on Earth. They believe evolution created life, they believe, therefore, chaos will be great. Of course, chaos never built anything. It simply destroys everything. That's what chaos does. Or in other words, their evolution, which is their God, is a God of chaos and a God of destruction. And they lead you exactly there. That's where they go. That's where you're going. Because mutilating nature is a very, very serious offense. Just think of it. Genetics, which build the bodies of life. These are the instructions which make your body work. Everything from the hair on your head to your toes, everything, fingerprints on your hand, everything, your ability to see, your ability to move, your ability to regulate the heat inside your body, everything is about genetics and the way nature built them. Just throwing the kitchen sink into it is like throwing sand into a motor, or whatever you want to compare it to. It's just horrendous. It is the devil at work, you can say, if you want to. I have no particular religious affiliations. I do believe in Jesus, and I do believe in God. But beyond that, I'm a little bit sketchy. Don't care. I'm only interested in truth. So, what is true is that right now, humanity is trying to ignite atoms on fire, just like the sun. That's what your universities have said. It'll be great. But of course, they can't do math. They cannot add 1 + 1 = 2. They can't do it. They failed. And by that I mean they claim fusion is their answer to why the sun produces heat. They say for every 2 atoms of hydrogen, or hydrogen combines into a helium atom. 2 atoms of hydrogen become 1 helium atom, and that's what produces all the heat on the sun. That's what they say. Well, 2 atoms of hydrogen, 1 + 1 = 1 helium. For every BTU of heat the sun produces, means that there would be an enormous amount of helium throughout the universe, as every sun does it. Whereas the helium is one of the rarest elements in the universe. Even you can understand the consequences of being wrong. Igniting atoms on fire, you can't take away the fuel source. It's atoms. That's the reality. Longevity and the BTUs, the energy released, all point to atoms on fire. We know it exists. The sun proves it. It doesn't prove that, as they claim, that there's hydrogen enough to support a sun. Just think of how much hydrogen that really be, buried inside all that fire, supposedly. And making helium with every single BTU that they produce. A flame 1,000,000 miles long. How much hydrogen do you think that takes? Where did they store it? What happens inside the sun? None of what they suggest is true. And the end result of it is, with their machines that are already built and running and very, very close to igniting atoms on fire, you will have no opportunity to make any change. You can't roll back the clock. Not on the planet. Not on mutilating nature. Not on igniting atoms on fire, which will turn this planet into a sun. You can't do it. Doesn't exist. You can't do it. Every square foot of the sun represents a fire 1,000,000 miles long, according to your own scientists. Every square foot of it is a flame 1,000,000 miles long and 10 million degrees hot Fahrenheit. Can you go up and touch that? Can your machines? No. Once ignited, there's no turning back. And their machines can ignite it on any second of any part of any day, including today. There's no guarantee that this planet won't be ignited into a sun today. 1 second too late and you're done. Anyway, there we go with the apocalypse is next. Let's just look at that for a second. Every form of genocide that ever existed is about the environment can't support us all, somebody has to die. That's what a genocide is. We're just too crowded, we can't stand it, we're going to make us some room, somebody has to die, and whoever is on the wrong end of the weapon is going to die. That's just how it is. People use or define different groups, especially between black and white, because you can easily see the color. So that black one over there, he's different from us, so we can call him an enemy and we can kill that boy because we can identify them. Or the Chinese, or any or white people too. Any form of identification that separates you can make you the other side. And of course, we're growing at over 1 million more mouths to feed over deaths every 3 to 4 days. We're adding 1 billion people in less than 10 years. And we add another billion after that, and another billion after that. So in less than probably 15 years, there will be 2 billion more people here. 10 years ago, there was 7 billion people. Today, there's 8 billion people. Before 1920 or 2025, it will be 9 billion people, and so on. Think about that for a minute. We're about 8 billion people right now. Doesn't matter what they argue and say. What is the fact is that we are way too many people for the planet to support. That's the fact. We are consuming, we are consuming oxygen at a far greater rate than the planet can produce it. And you are cutting down, tearing up, and destroying everything that produces the oxygen for us, or releases the oxygen actually. You're just destroying the whole planet, the entire ecosystem, everything. That's your plan. That's what your leaders do. Hey, they're the university, they're gods, they know it all. Don't they? Don't they? Sure they do. They're your gods. You prove that again and again and again. They are your gods. And of course the problem is that they are destroyers. Unfortunately, and I like antibiotics too, I wouldn't be here without them. But antibiotics made it possible for us to have so many people that now the world itself is in danger. The entire planet is in danger. Every living thing on it is in danger because there are too many human people. And so the mob says, let's kill some. Isn't that what the mob says? Oh, that's the mob's answer. That's humanity's, or men in charge, that's their answer. Every time. So, let's just think about it for a minute. You're going to kill 1 million people? Does that sound like a lot to you? 1 million people? Well, in a world of 8 billion people, that's one person out of every 8,000 is dead from that 1 million people you killed. In 3 days, they'll be back, reborn again. 3 days, maybe 4. That's what death is. You cannot fix this with war. Kill 1 million people, it's just 1 out of every 8,000 gone. That's all. And they come back in 3 to 4 days at the current rate. Apocalypse is coming. And that isn't, that's just simply humanity is overwhelmed itself. It has destroyed its environment. It can't survive. There isn't any food. And of course, there isn't any food. Let's just start with the oceans. The oceans are in need of help. There's your big garbage pit, ruining every incubator of life. Everything is being destroyed in the ocean. Literally overfished, tremendously overfished. Entire, major trawlers take entire little fish nations and clean out the ocean. That means the predators that feed on them cannot find any food. so they die. The ice, which supports a bottom chain of life, the base that creates a lot of the food chain in the ocean, starts on the bottom of ice in the ocean. No ice, no baseline food. So the planet and all of its life in the ocean is going to die, because if you don't start, every food chain has a starting point, and if that stops, the whole food chain above it stops. You gotta have it. If you don't have it, you don't have the life above it. And then we have all the pollinators, of course, that create fruits and a lot of vegetables and all the flowers and everything else. 50% at least of what we eat and what we see, and the major portion of the diversity on this planet is from pollinators. The pollinators are being killed by genetic mutilation. They mutilated the corn plants in particular to kill the insects that eat them. Well, if you kill them, and then of course they're sprayed and sprayed and sprayed, so they kill the more insects. And of course the pollinators, they have to eat a little too, so they ruin a little bit, but hey, it's the price of labor. Nonetheless, all of the insects, take a look around. I mean, I live out in an agriculture community, and there are no insects left. Just the tiniest few. There are no moths or butterflies to speak of. Well, and for that matter, there's no roadkill on the road anymore either. That's because there's just no life out here except for the green desert. It's just what man wants, and they spray and they spray and they spray and they spray. And that's because they want to be perfect, and they want to have clean fields and on and on and on. They want every single penny. I gotta buy a big tractor, Well, that's just one tiny, tiny, tiny little part, because the cities are even worse. For the kind of ground that you control, the amount of toxic waste you dump on it is tremendous. Horrible. And of course, 50 years of dumping toxic waste, which is the herbicides that are created by people to dump on the ground. Guess what? 50 years of dumping that on the ground. If nothing happens to it, if there isn't any biological life to eat it, then it remains in the ground, and it continues its way downward. It gets diluted on the way. Some of it gets trapped in the dirt, but some of it ends up in the water. 50 years of running down through the dirt ends up some in the water, and you can't get it out. You've got 50 years of toxic waste on top of it, all coming on you after it. Nothing going to stop it. You should kind of think about that for a little bit. And then we have all the other things that are attacking the water sources, including too many people taking too much for nothing. Not going to continue that way. It isn't. You're going to run out of water. You're going to run out of food, because you cannot. The fertilizer sources, the chemical fertilizers that we use to create more food, are ending, and some potash is they thought they were nearly out of it and found another source, but it will end up gone. And the genetics, of course, they want just one kind, and corn in particular is the result of the crossbreeding of just one very, very tiny source of genetic material, which is nearly defunct. It grows very little of the base that they need to have for growing seed. Of course, they'll try to get something else, but nonetheless, there's no end to it. Livestock, the factory farm, is entirely dependent upon antibiotics. Without an antibiotic to stop a disease, any disease that gets into the factory farm can wipe out the entire herd and can go here, there, and who knows where very easily. It is all set up for absolute failure. And you have no setup to make any change in that right now. You have no possibility to, there are no farmers out here that know how to do it anymore. Very few. No operations, none of that. And of course, without antibiotics, there is no real medicine. You don't get surgery without antibiotics. The only reason that it took so long to have surgery is because there were no antibiotics. Open the skin, germs get in, people die. That's how come. No antibiotics, that's the end of it. It's a long list. It's a long, long list. And of course there's all the weapons of mass destruction just sitting there waiting. They're going to be used. We all know they're going to be used. There isn't any doubt. There are madmen everywhere. They really are. One in a million is still just 1 in 8,000 today. That's 1 in a million who would pull the trigger. There's still 8,000 of them today. There is tremendous problems. And you cannot avoid any of it by pretending you don't have to participate. You do have to participate. You do have to stop with the air conditioning, which is the primary cause. And of course there's all the rest, which is not enough insulation, and on and on and on and on. Too much driving. You have to do everything different. You really do. There's no turning back the clock. You should try to think about that. There is no turning back the clock. What you don't do today is going to kill your children tomorrow. They have no future as it is. You have no resources for them. It's all in the garbage dump. That's so you could keep your factories rolling. And of course the factories have to keep rolling, so you have to have enormous amounts of garbage. Otherwise the factories have to stop. And then of course, where's my job? Well, I have to have a job. Well, of course, automation has now taken most of the jobs, not lots of them. And it will take more. In America, you have gone from, a place for everybody, which was basically in the 60s, to a place for very few. It's not going to work. So let's summarize just a little bit. The planet is overheating. We know that for a fact because the ice is evidence enough. We can't turn the clock back. And too late to stop horrendous change is simply too late to stop horrendous change. We have people trying to ignite atoms on fire. That's literally what they're doing. Take a look. That's literally what they're doing. That is what the sun does. And their theory is there's not enough gravity here on Earth to sustain the fire, so it'll just put itself out. There is no other theory. That's it. The sun, wants to ignite atoms on fire, it's just supposed to extinguish itself. When they go hocus pocus, no, whatever. It won't. So the planet burns like a sun, throwing us out of orbit and just consuming us completely. Exploding the planet, in fact. Doesn't matter. We'll be gone. And then of course there's all the food supplies are in jeopardy. Countless ways. Urban sprawl. Just taking over everything. Destroying habitat. Making all the creatures of the earth extinct. Without base food, which is insects, for a major portion of all types of life. They're going to go extinct too. Birds will fish in the lakes. Small mammals, reptiles, enormous amounts leave when those insects leave. Water supplies are in jeopardy everywhere, just from people, not to mention everything else, which is horrendous. The ocean is near death. Even if you don't believe it is simply true. Prove it is not so. Prove it. It is so. We have, your scientists say that the sun is burning throughout. Everything, all the way to the center of the sun, is burning all at once. Well, where is the fuel then for that? If you're burning all the fuel at once, there's no fuel left. Isn't that so? If all the fuel is on fire, will it not burn itself out quickly when the fuel is gone? The list is so long, it's just pathetic. And then, of course, we have debts don't matter. That's your government, particularly in America, but it's everywhere. Particularly in America, your people who have taken over government have inflated, but failed to say they inflated. They inflated the money tremendously. And they added $155 trillion or so in debt as a nation. What they report to you as federal debt is just the federal government, just those tiny few people making that debt. The rest of the debt is what we contribute. And there's probably 160 trillion by this time. It doesn't matter anymore. Doesn't. It's gone. Which means there'll be civil war. You stole all our money. They play their games. They play their fantasies. Trying to ignite atoms, same as the sun, is playing God. It's a fantasy. It won't work. Well, actually, it will work. And they'll kill us all. There's no going back. Well, you have, turned all the resources into garbage, assassinating the future for every child. Well, you had to have a job. Didn't you? Well, yeah, you did. But then again, you killed every child to keep your job, so that the factory could keep working, so that everybody could have something to throw in the garbage can and fill the garbage waste. And threaten the water supply is there. You do have to change. That's the reality. It's a truth that has consequences of extinction for our planet if you don't. You can complain about me and let them, direct your attention to, well, you can't believe in that guy, or whatever it is they would like to say. And I tell you, don't believe in me. I have said that often. Don't believe in me. Believe in what is true. Don't believe in the people who lie to you, cheat you, steal from you, are terrorists. They're trying to ignite atoms on fire. That's terrorism. Even if it isn't entirely intentional, it is still the same thing because that's what's happening. Believe in the evidence. Go search. You don't get to survive if you don't pay the price for survival today. We have overwhelmed nature. Nature can no longer support us. Nature is dying all around us. We are sprawling out over everything and taking everything and killing everything because you want what you want, and that's all that you want. You don't want nothing else, and I don't want to hear about it. No. And I want. That's you. Heard it for 40 years. That's you. I want, and I don't want anything but what I want. Well, that ain't enough. You did that. And now we literally stand at the edge of extinction. You can't create a mob and go kill the rest. You can't. Kill 1 billion people. Still 7 billion people left. Take a look at Syria. See what you get from your mob and your weapons and your guns and your all of that. You get an end to the world, an end to everything. The environment cannot bring it back. There are no trees to go rebuild America with after you burn it down. There is no anything. You must stop doing what you're doing and put life first. There are no other solutions. You must put life first. You must make every choice to have life be first in every decision that we make. And we have to work around everything else, because if we do not choose, life must be first. Not money first. Life must be first. There is no possibility anybody survives. There might be a tiny, tiny remnant if they don't ignite this planet into a sun. But it's fairly unlikely. And that's just the facts. Whether you like them or not makes absolutely no difference. I forgot to mention that the reality is, at least biblically, and I have studied it, the book of Daniel has a prophecy. It says, last days on earth will be predicated by a great abomination. There is no greater abomination than trying to turn this ignite sunfire here. It will turn the planet into a sun. It will even destroy the entire solar system, because when it becomes a sun, from the ignition of atoms, the entire planet will soon thereafter explode. And that's because it's not spherical enough to take away the oceans, and you have very big crevices. It's kind of like an hourglass, and the thing will explode because of the heat expansion as it heats up. So that single feat, that single decision to ignite atomic fire is the greatest abomination man could ever consider or conceive of. There isn't any doubt. Therefore, the time schedule that it illuminates is that there will be a period of 1,250 days from the first experiment that actually can ignite sunfire, which occurred at the National Ignition Facility in San Francisco, Lawrence Livermore Laboratories. The first death in that prophecy is the book of the law. It goes like the Bible itself goes. The first book, or the Old Testament, is about law, men obeying law. They failed. You failed. You didn't use the law to stop them. The second book, or New Testament, is about mercy, and it is due to end, or the time period ends in April of 2018. Just a tidbit for your information. If you think the world can't die, you're very wrong. The world can die. Life can die. Same thing. If you fail to get what you need, if the environment doesn't allow you to survive, you die. Same is true for everything. Noah's flood was proven true by the fossil fuels we have today. Nothing else could have or would have gathered up all that material, put it in benches, and buried it all together in the same spot, which creates the coal and the oil and the gas that we use today. Nothing else could have done it. The fact that there is so much of it clearly proves the world was a very, very full of life. even if it wasn't a lot of humans, full of life. And it died. All but a tiny few. You really ought to consider that. There's no going back. No second chances. And it's extremely unlikely that you'll get mercy. Certainly, Bible doesn't say you will, if you want to go by that. And the truth of the matter is, when you look at a prophecy that was engineered roughly 5,000 years ago, without the slightest possibility that they could have even considered the idea of igniting atoms on fire, it really does become rather significant.